why people feel the way that they feel, right? Because I mean, we know the details of what Trump actually did. We know about how he only used his position of power to enrich himself and also pass tax cuts for the rich. But remember, you used to do that segment, that Loser Donald segment. And I remember talking about the fact that he went bankrupt over and over and over again, thinking that maybe it will persuade people to realize that he's not this successful businessman that he's like really selling himself as. And there's an author, I was listening to an interview, and this author wrote a book where, she spent a lot of time with Trump supporters to kind of understand their thinking. And Cenk, we forget, I mean, it kind of shows you that we also are in our own little bubble. A lot of those people who support Trump went bankrupt themselves. So they see his 6 bankruptcies not as a failure, but as something that makes him human, something that makes him relatable, something that makes him more likable.
Oh man, see, but that's what you must understand the Trump voter. These are legitimate concerns. Legitimate concerns.
She spent a lot of time with Trump supporters to kind of understand their thinking. And Cenk, we forget, I mean, it kind of shows you that we also are in our own little bubble. A lot of those people who support Trump went bankrupt themselves. So they see his 6 bankruptcies not as a failure, but as something that makes him human, something that makes him relatable, something that makes him more likable. So I mean, it's interesting to think about it in that context, because for us, it was more about trying to debunk this image that he built for himself that was, of course, built on complete lies. But a lot of his supporters know that he went bankrupt, and they actually like that about him because they see him as someone who was able to fail so many times and then rise back up and become the president of the United States. Like they have seen him as some sort of hero, and they see that as like a reflection of what can happen to them. Like I'm going bankrupt, I'm going through these tough times, and look what Trump was able to do, and he's fighting along with us. That's the way that they see him.
No.
Donald Trump came to the Detroit Economic Club and stood there in front of the Ford Motor executives and said, if you close these factories as you're planning to do in Detroit and build them in Mexico, I'm going to put a 35% tariff on those cars when you send them back, and nobody's going to buy them. It was an amazing thing to see. No politician, Republican or Democrat, had ever said anything like that to these executives. And it was music to the ears of people in Michigan and Ohio and Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, the Brexit states. You live here in Ohio, you know what I'm talking about. Whether Trump means it or not is kind of irrelevant because he's saying the things to people who are hurting.
This sounds like political presidential talk to me, and I know people have talked to you about whether or not you want to run. Would you ever?
Probably not, but I do get tired of seeing the country ripped off.
Why would you not?
I just don't think I really have the inclination to do it. I love what I'm doing. I really like it.
Also, it doesn't pay as well.
No, it doesn't. But, I just probably wouldn't do it, Oprah. I probably wouldn't, but I do get tired of seeing what's happening with this country. And if it got so bad, I would never want to rule it out totally because I really am tired of seeing what's happening with this country, how we're really making other people live like kings and we're not.
Mr. Trump, you've done great things in your life, and I just wonder, how do I, as an average person, begin?
Well, first of all, never think of yourself as average. You started off with the wrong question because you're not average. You've got a lot going. I see you're smart. I see you're very beautiful. And you're right against Erin. Look how beautiful she is. But, I don't see any difference. You have to tell yourself that you just have to get that word average out of your vocabulary, and you have to tell yourself that you're great, and you have to believe it. If you can say it and don't believe it, it doesn't matter. So just go out there and work hard.
You've said, though, that if you did run for president, you believe you'd win.
Well, I don't know. I think I'd win. I tell you what, I wouldn't go in to lose.
I am officially running for President of the United States.
There's not going to be a President Donald Trump.
Donald Trump will not become president.
Donald Trump is not going to be president of the United States.
take it to the bank. Okay. I guarantee it.
All right.
I think that man will be president of the United States right about the time that spaceships come down filled with dinosaurs and red capes.
Donald Trump has been saying that he will run for president as a Republican, which is surprising since I just assumed he was running as a joke.
Donald Trump, just last week, he confirmed to the National Review that he is again considering a run in 2016.
Do it. Do it. Look at me. Do it. I will personally write you a campaign check now on behalf of this country, which does not want you to be president, but which badly wants you to run.
I continue to believe Mr. Trump will not be president. Mr. Trump will not be president.
He will never be president of the United States.
And we better be ready for the fact that he might be leading the Republican ticket next.
I know you don't believe that, but I want to go on.
Sorry to laugh.
Okay, here we are. And which Republican candidate has the best chance of winning the general election?
Of the declared ones, right now, Donald Trump.
And so, right now, Mr. Trump, to answer your call for political honesty, I just want to say, you're not going to be president. There is zero chance we'll be seeing you being sworn in on the Capitol steps with your hand on a giant golden Bible.
Donald Trump will never, ever be president of the United States.
Donald Trump will never be elected president of the United States.
Donald Trump is a here today, gone tomorrow candidate for president of the United States. Donald Trump is not going to be president of the United States. Ever respectful of the fact that the people have not voted, he's not going to be president of the United States.
Let's be clear. Donald Trump will lose the election.
We talk about him every day, and we continuously bash him.
He's not going to be the president. Don't worry about it.
Exactly.
It's a wake-up call to the Republican Party. Despite Boris thinking that Donald Trump could win New York, like this, the presidential race is over.
Hey, could I just cut through? I have one thing to say, one thing only, and that is that this race is over.
President Obama will go down as perhaps the worst president in the history of the United States! Exclamation point at real Donald Trump. Well, at real Donald Trump, at least I will go down as a president.
I think I'd be inclined, I would say that I would have a hell of a chance of winning, because I think people, I don't know how your audience feels, but I think people are tired of seeing the United States ripped off. And I can't promise you everything, but I can tell you one thing, this country would make one hell of a lot of money from those people that for 25 years have taken advantage. It wouldn't be the way it's been.
When you stand and deliver that State of the Union address, in no part of your mind or brain can you imagine Donald Trump standing up one day and delivering a State of the Union address?
Well, I can imagine it in a Saturday night skit.
Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
That from now on, it's going to be America first. America first. The script is not yet written. We do not know what the page will read tomorrow. But for the first time in a long time, what we do know is that the pages will be authored by each and every one of you. Years from now, some of them may look back and ask themselves whether they've made the right choice, whether they've made the most of the opportunities they've been given.
What a difference a year makes. 1 year ago today, Donald Trump was celebrating the passage of a giant tax cut. Remember this photograph? That he claimed against almost every expert opinion, would be a huge boost to the economy and to middle-class workers. His Treasury Secretary claimed that as a result, quote, the stock market will go up higher. A year later, all major stock indices were down today and for the year by a lot. The Dow fell almost 500 points today, hitting the lowest level since October of 2017. In other words, more than a year ago. And as for those huge benefits to workers that Donald Trump promised, well, instead, companies spent their tax savings this year on record stock buybacks, while employee bonuses hardly moved at all. The economic uncertainty extends far beyond Wall Street. This week, the president announced another $4.9 billion in bailouts to farmers who are still suffering as a result of the Trump trade war. And despite Donald Trump's claim that he had reached an incredible deal with China as it related to trade. And all of that uncertainty doesn't even consider the daily White House chaos, like the resignation of the defense secretary, abrupt changes in military strategy, and a possible third government shutdown this year. Joining me now, Michael Moore, an award-winning, Academy Award-winning documentary filmmaker whose latest film, Fahrenheit 11/9, is now available on DVD on demand and is the #1 documentary film on iTunes. Michael, welcome. You and I share a deep interest in the economic well-being of Americans. They were sold a bill of goods in that tax plan.
Right.
And we have not seen any evidence of gain from the president, and we careen from one thing to a next, and then in 24 hours we may see a government shutdown.
Right. The gain has been for that top 0.1%. They've done very well. But I wonder how they've been feeling the last 5 to 11 days. When will they decide he's got to go? That will be the interesting moment, I think.
That group has done well for a long time.
They've done even better now, historically better.
Yeah.
All the Republicans in that photo that you showed, standing there on the steps with him a year ago today, all looking so slap happy and all. Remember, it's not just Trump. All of the Republicans, all of them, nobody has had the courage to stand up and say this is wrong. This is un-American. This hurts this country. This tax cut, in a sense, an act of terror, because it's going to make the people who are already struggling to get by that much harder to get by. And what are they going to do? What are they going to do? And to alleviate their pain, how many more of those opioid drugs are they going to need? What will happen with their children in their inadequate schools? You know, the air that they're breathing, the climate change that they say they don't believe in, all of that.
You know very clearly that the opioid epidemic is a byproduct. You know, it was bad stuff from pharmaceuticals and it was bad stuff from pain practitioners, but it's an economic outcome.
Yes, and it also kills people. Our healthcare system should not be in the hands of people whose goal is to make a profit. That's their job. In fact, they have a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders to make as big a profit as possible. So that's why our health insurance isn't what it actually should be. It's why the pharmaceutical companies control all of this. But I was just watching the stuff with Madison. I was in the green room back there, and I think maybe this is the first time I've actually been frightened for the country. Frightened,
really,
in these almost 2 years. Well,
because you thought Mattis maybe was the adult in the room. Maybe he was.
Yeah, I don't like that term because, first of all, yes, okay, all the adults.
Little children.
Well, I've often said that the only question we have to resolve about Trump is, do we try him as an adult? His behavior